And then I want to say welcome. We are so excited you're here. This is a little bit different from our normal webinar. As you can tell from Jake's head, we've got something special going on today. Before we do that though, I'm going to try to push out a quick poll and hopefully you can see it. Just curious how many of you have a Glowforge in your studio or makerspace right now. So throwing that out there just to see, kind of get the pulse of the room. All right, looks like, okay, looks like oh, this is going to be above my math, but we have a lot of no's and we have some yeses, so that is great. So you are joining us in the middle of our Wednesday webinar series. This is a series of live webinars we do for free every third Wednesday of the month at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This one, if you got the invitation, then you already know this is a fun one that we're doing about Glowforge, and Dr. Jake's going to talk us through May the Force, what we should have said, May the Forge be with you, with Star Wars. I'm Corey, I'm the Director of Curriculum. I'm coming to you from Eva, Hawaii. So it's very warm and beautiful here. Sorry that you all probably don't have that. But with that, I think I'm going to throw it to Jake.
All right, everyone. Hello. How are you all doing today? First and foremost, may the force be with you. So today we are going to be diving into to show you how to use the Glowforge laser cutter and printer with a little bit of a twist today. That twist being obviously Star Wars. So these are actually a couple of the lightsabers that I got over at Galaxy's Edge over at Hollywood Studios and Disney, because I'm an adult and that's what I spend my adult money on, is replica lightsabers. First off, before we get started here, let's take a quick little quiz here. Whose lightsaber is that? It's blue. It's got these little ribs on it right here. And whose lightsaber is that? The curved hilt. I'll give you a count of 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. That was Anakin's, and then it was Luke's, and then it was Rey's. So this one has multiple owners. And this one, of course, is Count Dooku's lightsaber, one of my favorite lightsabers.
Hey, Kimberly got it. Kimberly had the right answer.
All right. So it's certainly a cool effect to have them glowing like that, but they also hum. So for the sake of the rest of the presentation here, I'm going to turn those off, but I'll still have them there in the background for us. So how many Star Wars fans do we have here? By the raise of hands. All right, even if your camera isn't on, I can still detect if your hands are raised because I'm using the Force to detect that. So I sense there's a lot of Star Wars fans out there today. Right off the bat, let's go ahead and let's take a quick look at the Glowforge unit here. So you should be able to see my face over here, and then over to the right of me, you'll see an overhead view of the Glowforge. This is our Glowforge Pro unit right here. The Glowforge is a great tool to use for crafting, for getting into like art sort of projects with students and kids at home alike, but also for building up STEM curriculum. It's a great way for getting students kind of interested in kind of the science that's behind the Glowforge. Kind of very similar to the idea behind a lightsaber being a laser beam. The Glowforge works via a carbon dioxide laser. So, let's see. All right, thank you for that note, Ty. So is everyone able to see the picture of the Glowforge here? Cool. All righty. So as I was saying, so the Glowforge uses lasers, just like you see a lot of lasers in Star Wars, that's for sure. And so today I'm going to be giving you an overview as to how to use the Glowforge and how to interact with the online application that we use to control it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask my my Padawan Cole, who is controlling the camera in our Glowforge room there. Cole, if you could go ahead and flip on the power to the Glowforge and the power to the air filter. All right, so Cole is reaching behind the Glowforge there, flipping the switch, and our lights turn on. And so the other thing off to the side that Cole is turning on is the air filter. There's really ultimately two ways to run the Glowforge. You can either have it attached to an air filter if you're in a situation where your Glowforge is somewhere that's not close to like a window. So our area here where we have the Glowforge set up, we don't have access to a window. So we have it hooked up to an air filter. And then alternatively, you can also have the hose, that shiny hose that's sticking outside the back of the Glowforge there. You can also hang that outside of a window. And the purpose of that is to vent all of the dust and the ash in the process of engraving and cutting through materials. The purpose of that hose is to direct that out so it's not clogging up your Glowforge. Especially when you are using an air filter, it's especially important to make sure that you turn that on to protect the life of your Glowforge and to make sure it doesn't get all dirty inside there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove my pin there, and I'm actually going to go and share my screen. I'm going to introduce you all to the online interface that we use to control the Glowforge. So as you can see here, can everyone see my screen all right? Cool.
Yep, you're good.
Awesome. So as you can see, we have cleverly named the Glowforge in our office Henry Forge. Like Henry Ford. And so we're going to go ahead, and the URL that you're going to want to go to is https://app.glowforge.com. The setup process for connecting your computer to the Glowforge is a pretty simple process. I've done it a few times now. Very nice and easy. And so the first thing I'm going to go to is I'm going to go here and I'm going to say create a new design. I'm going to click create a blank design. And what's going to happen here is our Glowforge is going to get connected here. I'm going to refresh the bed image so that we could see what's going on. And Cole, if you could take that piece of small blue acrylic, and if you could place that in the bed of the Glowforge, I'd much appreciate that. And so so I see, up here, you'll notice that there's a message that pops up that said lid open. And so that indicates that Cole heard my force message to him to insert the blue acrylic. And so he's opening up the lid, inserting it. And basically what's going to happen here within a few seconds is the camera that is a part of the lid of the Glowforge is going to refresh, and we're going to see the image of our material inside of our Glowforge. All right, fantastic. So everyone can see already the little mini project I'm going to show you at first. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the very basics of how to use the Glowforge application, and then I'm going to walk you through a quick little more in-depth project that you can do on your own. And then afterwards, we will make the files that we use to make these things available to you via email. So as you can see on my camera here, I already made a couple little R2 units here. So I made already, as you can see in the bed image, the blue acrylic, the hole that's punched out of there, that is this guy right here. And I made it out of blue acrylic. So with the Glowforge, the two main kinds of materials that you can print on mostly are acrylic and wood. There's also other things like leather that you can print on, things like that. So here I have an example of blue acrylic R2 and a red cherry wood R2. Now everyone knows that R2D2 traditionally is that nice blue color, so I decided to use that blue acrylic. But can you guys think of a red R2 unit that has been used in Star Wars? Let me go ahead and solve the puzzle for you. That character is named R4P17. That is Obi-Wan Kenobi's R2 unit right there. So that's why I chose to do a red one as well. You'll definitely be getting a lot of Star Wars trivia and cheesy Star Wars jokes in the process of this webinar today. My apologies ahead of time. So I'm just going to go back here, and as we can see, we can take a look at our material that we have here in the Glowforge. Now you'll notice that this up here where I select the material, it automatically filled in medium keel acrylic. And the reason why is because this is proof grade material right here. And basically what it does is it's going to read that QR code right there, and it's going to automatically know what material it is. Now, when you're using the Glowforge, you ultimately have two options. You can either use proof grade material. Now that material is a little bit more expensive. It's generally better quality. And also it has that QR code on there. So you always know that you have the correct settings when you're taking a look at what material you have selected up here in the upper left-hand corner. You can also use third-party materials. There are some very good vendors to use on, for instance, Etsy, where you can buy like basswood, those kinds of materials. With those, you will have to go ahead and, for instance, if you're using an uncertified material, you would click this and you would insert the material thickness. But for today, we're actually just going to be using proof grade material, but you do have the option of using third-party material, which is a bit more affordable, but sometimes you may have to tweak around with the settings a little bit in terms of the etching and cutting of your material. So the way that I would make another R2 unit, let's say I wanted to make another one of these little guys right here. If you have the Glowforge Premium account, what you can do is you can go here and click artwork. And if you have that premium account, you can type in Star Wars, and they already have tons of designs in here for you to pick out from. So as you can see, we already have a Death Star, some R2 units. Let's see, this is the R2 unit that I used for my previous prints for these two guys. And so from there, you can go ahead and put that on your material. You can choose how big it is. So notice that that is determined by these inch marks up here. So right now, if I were to print this R2 unit here, and I'd make them about yay big, that R2 unit would be about 2 inches wide and about 1, 2, 3, almost about 3 inches tall. Now, the next thing that I want to show you how to do is how to set these engrave settings right here. So in order to do that, we click this. And as you can see, there's already a default option there. That's the standard definition graphic. What you can do is you do have the option, and this is especially important when you're using non-proof grade material. You do have the option of clicking this arrow and changing the speed at which your print head is moving, and also change the power that it uses. Now, if you're using proof grade material, I would suggest just keeping these at their default settings. But if you are using third-party materials, sometimes you may have to play around with it a little bit to see what settings give you the best etches, engravings, and what settings give you the best cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here. Now, as I have my design currently as it is, we have to consider that right now we're only engraving something on this blue acrylic. Right now, the reason why it doesn't appear to be teal is because there's actually a layer of like masking tape type material that is on the top of this proof grade material. And that allows you to peel off that masking tape after you are done engraving and cutting your material. The great thing about that is it means that you have less scorch marks on materials like acrylic, like wood. And that's another benefit of using proof grade material. So if I were to go ahead and I were to start this print by clicking this print button up here, all it would do is it would just engrave. It would actually not cut out my piece from the acrylic. So you may be wondering, how do I go about adding that? Well, what I can do is I can just click my design right here. And there's a series of tools here where you can flip vertically, flip horizontally. You can do a lot of different things with these tools right here. But the one that I want to point out is this one right here, where you can create an outline for your design. So let's say you want your outline to be, by default, is 0.25 inches. I'm going to go ahead and make it 0 inches so it goes right up to the edge of my design. And so now we have over here on the left of our screen, we see that we actually have two options here. We have the portion that's being engraved. That's the SD graphic setting right there. We also have the portion that's being cut out. And as you can see, the proof grade cut option is selected by default. Again, if you're using third-party materials, third-party acrylic or wood, materials like that, you may want to mess around with some of these settings to make sure that you are getting good quality engravings and cuts. But for now, we're just going to stick with these defaults today. So if I wanted to go ahead and print this, I could actually go ahead up here. I could press print. And basically what it would do is it would think for a while. It's connecting with the servers connected to Glowforge. And basically it's going to tell me how long it's going to take for this print to print out. So it's going to tell me specifically how long it is going to take to engrave my design and cut around my design in total. And as you can see, this print would take about 12 minutes. So it's actually pretty quick to make little cool designs like these, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to cancel this print, and I'm actually going to ask Cole, my Padawan, to replace the blue acrylic in here with the cherry wood. So as you can see, I can see that Cole heard my message through the Force. As you can see, the lid open indicator is on. And so that's another great safety feature of the Glowforge. You cannot start a print on the Glowforge if the lid is open. So that's a very good safety feature to have. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to delete my R2 design here. And I'm actually going to show you guys a really cool personal project you guys can do that's a little bit more in depth than just these two R2 units here. And before we move on, I just kind of wanted to show you some of the other things that you can do with the Glowforge. This is a Millennium Falcon here that I printed off yesterday using draft board. As you can see, this one took about a little over an hour to print. And as you can see, I had it cut and engraved. And so you can do some pretty cool projects with that. For instance, one of my coworkers thought it would be cool to kind of turn this into a clock by getting one of those little clock kits that you find on Amazon and installing it on this guy and mounting it to a wall. That'd be pretty cool. And I'm going to show you the rest of some of these other really cool projects after I'm done showing you how to do this little special project that we're going to do. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to make your own custom Star Wars name tag. You could use it as a name tag, or you could use it like as a little plaque at your desk at your office or anywhere at home. And so I'm going to start off by choosing a shape. And so again, we can go in here and we can select this import artwork button right here, and we can select different shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a frame. One moment. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to click frame. I'm going to search. And basically, I just want a shape. I just want a real basic shape that I can use to create my name tag. All right. So let's see. I want something kind of rectangular. So I'm going to go down a little further. In fact, I'm going to use this guy right here. So as you can see, this is just a basic shape here where we're going to be engraving onto it. I'm just going to turn that shape on its side so we have a nice name tag here. And I'm going to want my name tag not to be super large, because if I want to wear it on my shirt or something, I want it to be not super large. So I'm going to make it probably about 3 inches tall, maybe. Now you'll notice here that there is a hole in the upper corner here where I originally printed off my other R2 unit. So in order to save on wood, on material, I'm not just going to print directly right in the center of my piece of material. I'm actually going to print right up here. And I want my name tag to be about 3 inches tall, something like that. And in order to give you a better view of what's going on, I'm going to zoom in a little bit and give you a little better view of what's going on here. So the next thing that I'm going to do, because I'm kind of printing up in the top corner of my material, again, just in the name of saving material, trying to be as efficient as possible, I'm I'm going to go ahead and click these three buttons here. I'm going to select my set focus button. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to select the center of my name tag. And as you can see, this little message here says focusing. Basically, what that's going to do is it's going to tell the Glowforge, okay, I want you to set the center of your focus to the middle of that name tag. That way, things come out nice and even. Another way to go about doing that is if you wanted to place that design right smack dab in the middle of your material, then it would already be by default focused in the center. But again, I want to save all material here. And so I also want to do something else with this. So I have this set on engrave. So I have it as before. By default, it's on SD graphic. And before I do anything else, I want to select my shape. And again, I want to make sure that I'm cutting out my name tag properly. So I'm going to create an outline for this name tag here. I'm going to set the border of it to be 0 inches. So it goes straight up, right up to the edge of my design here. And so just double checking here. Awesome. My cut is set on proof grade cut and my engraving is set on SD graphic. Fantastic. So now what we're going to do, I'm actually going to change my view here. So that way I can access my toolbar and my favorites bar a little easier. So the next thing that I'm going to do, one moment. There we go. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my name on this name tag, but I'm not just going to put any ordinary name on there. I'm not just going to use any old font. Now, granted, if you do have the ability to purchase the Glowforge Premium account, you do have the ability to insert text via this little tool right up here, and you can change the typeface, the font of it. But we're going to do something a little cooler than that. What we are going to do is we are going to go to a website, Star Wars font. And so there's many different resources online that you can use for this. I'm going to fontspace.com/category/Star Wars. And basically what I can do here is I can, as you can see, I already have my name typed in there. I can just type in my name, first name, Jake, and I'm going to let it load. And bam, we already have a series of Star Wars fonts that we can put on our name tag. Very cool. And I really like this one right here. That one looks really cool. So basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to select my screenshot tool. I'm going to select it. I'm going to download it. And let's see, I'm going to go into my downloads folder to check that it's there. Aha. So I'm going to call this Star Wars name tag Jake. So I know it's that text. So from there, what I can do, so I can just exit out of there. I'm going to go back to my Glowforge image here. And I am going to import some artwork. So as we saw before, you can add artwork from this menu right here, or you can upload. So I'm going to select upload, and I'm going to select that file that I just saved. You can use, when it comes to this sort of thing, you can use PNG files, JPEG files. All of those will work just fine. So right now it says it's processing, and it's going to add that design to my workspace here in a second. Aha, here we go. So I have my name, Jake, in Star Wars font right here. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, the first thing that I noticed here, this is on draft photo. I think it looks clearest if you're trying to do an engraving, to select SD graphic. So I'm going to set my name right there. That looks pretty good. I think that's a pretty good size. And now I'm going to do something even cooler than that. If you think the Star Wars font was cool, just wait for this next. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to another website where I can actually enter my name in Star Wars language. Okay. So I previously used this website right up here to get my name, my first name, into Star Wars font. Now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to this website, arabesh.org. All right, so here's a tricky question here. Does anybody know what Arabesh is? Arabesh is the official written language in the Star Wars universe. And so what we're going to do is not only have my name in Star Wars font, but I'm going to go ahead and add my name in Arabesh to just below my name on my name tag. And so in order to do that, again, I'm just going to go up here to select my screenshot tool. And I'm going to select this text in Arabesh. And I'm going to download it. And I'm in particular here, I am using Firefox. You can use whatever you'd like. And so I am going to call this Arabesh Jake. All right, so now that I have my file there in my downloads folder, all I got to do is do the exact same thing I did before. I'm going to go to upload, and I'm going to select Arabesh Jake. And I'm going to take that text right there, and I'm just going to set it right underneath there. And I'm also going to double check that I have it set on SD graphic. Now, from here, my challenge for you, if you want to make your own name tag, is to add whatever Star Wars character is your favorite to the side of your name tag there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that R2 unit there. So I'm going to put my R2 unit right there next to my name on my name tag. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double check. Yep, it's on SD graphic. And at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and print. So I'm going to press print here. It's going to take a second to load. And then here in just a second, I'm going to be able to commence the print. All right, it says it's going to take me 36 minutes to do this print. I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen for just a second. And I'm going to give you guys a view of the Glowforge. And as you can see, there's a little button down in the bottom right-hand corner of the Glowforge. Cole, if you could go ahead and press that button for me and initiate our print. Fantastic. So now you will be able to see the Glowforge unit printing. It's going to start off by doing its etching, and then it's going to do its cutting. So as you can see, that print head is moving back and forth, and it is producing our name tag. And this is actually one that I made recently. So I made a kind of slightly different one. I have my name in that Star Wars font on clear acrylic. And then I also have my name in Arabesh down here. And then I also, when I was doing this the first time, I selected Chewbacca because I really like Chewbacca. He's a really cool character. Let's see if I can do it. There we go. That's my best Chewbacca call. So that's just some examples of the kind of things that you can do with the Glowforge, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. And before we head out and have any questions, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I'm just going to show you some of the cool stuff that you can do, some other little projects that you can create using the Glowforge. For instance, here's a really cool thing that somebody posted on Glowforge's website where they made a Monopoly board that is Star Wars themed, and they printed it out of wood. And they also made the little pegs out of wood, little characters that move around the game board. And also what's really cool is they made like the actual case out of wood with it. That's pretty cool. We also have a cool little puzzle where someone created a print off out of wood where they made a three-dimensional X-Wing. That's a pretty cool project. Oh, that was my thing about R4P17. You can ignore that. And lastly, this is something that I made very early on when I first joined the team here at STEM Education Works. It is a chessboard right here that was made on our Glowforge, where you have the symbol of the Empire and the Rebel Alliance here. And all of these little chess pieces here are actually made via our 3D printers. So those are just some examples of some really cool Star Wars projects you can do with the Glowforge. Again, the Glowforge is a really, really great tool for getting into crafting. It's a really great way to sort of merge the worlds of art and STEM education. And I thank you very much for your guys' attention. If we have any questions near the end here, Corey, if you could take over for that, I would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Jake. That was hysterical to watch in the background. Does anybody have any questions? You can either unmute yourself, or if you prefer not to do that, you're welcome to put them in the chat. I did get a great question about the copyright concerns, and as a former librarian myself, that's definitely something that we had to check on for ourselves. So I went ahead and put an answer in the chat about that, but I will double check and get back to Kimberly just to make sure I had that right. Any other questions or comments for us?
I have a question.
Go for it.
I think Erica has one.
I was just going to say, we are in the process of purchasing one. We've been approved to get one, but we're not quite sure what kind we would like to get. We're a middle school, and it would be used by 6th, 7th, and 8th grade STEM students. It would be housed here in my wood shop. So we're just trying to get an idea of what type would be probably good for our grade level.
Jake, I'm going to let you talk about the different kinds, if that's okay. Oh, Jake, you're muted.
There we go. Okay, thank you, Corey. So the two different kinds that we have, if you go to our website here, stemeducationworks.com, you can go to shop now, and you can go over here to Glowforge. There's two primary units that you can purchase. So first, there is the Glowforge Plus. This is a 40-watt 3D laser cutter engraver.
Okay.
And the Glowforge Pro. It's a 45-watt 3D laser cutter / engraver. So the main difference is this is kind of the standard unit that we have right here. If you have a younger class, perhaps this would be a good choice for you. But the really great thing about this unit right here, the Glowforge Pro, which is what we have in our office, is that the laser is a bit more powerful, so it can cut through a bit more tough materials, but it also has this pass-through that you can see right here. And basically what that pass-through does is it allows you to, instead of being restricted to the two-dimensional space inside the Glowforge, that's like in this tray here, basically what you can do is you can take a long banner type shape, for instance, a long plank of wood, and you can print multiple things on that piece and kind of pass it through the opening here in the front and in the back. Okay. So that is the benefit of having the Glowforge Pro. So again, this is our standard unit, Glowforge Plus, and the Glowforge Pro right here.
All right, thank you.
Hey, this is Christine. Can I add one more thing about the Glowforge Plus versus the Pro? I also work for STEM Education Works, and the other thing, if you're going to be using it class after class, having the higher powered laser, there's also some other things about that machine that you don't have to let it cool down in between continuous prints. So if for a school situation, that's probably going to be the better way to go, unless you only plan on using it, you know, like every other class or maybe once or twice a day.
Oh, Jake, you're muted again.
Yeah, Christine's precisely correct about that. I'm glad you brought that up. It has that solid state cooling technology built in for all day use.
Any other questions? I have one in the chat if nobody has.
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm sure there's a maximum thickness for wood, for example, but does it, like, if you have a wood shop and a planer, and if you run pine through it or some exotic hardwood, does the density of the wood matter?
So generally, yes. I would imagine that if you're using like a hardwood, you definitely want to mess with those settings, and you want to make it so that the speed of that laser is on the slower side, and you want to make sure that that precision power setting is on the higher side. Luckily, there's a lot of information online in the form of forums. I didn't mean to do that wordplay there. In the form of forums online, where there's Glowforge users that are on online forums, and there's a lot of information where you can type in, you know, oak or something like that. And there's already a lot of people who have done a lot of the grunt work for you, and they've found the settings that work best for a certain type of material. Or for instance, they'll say, hey, this material doesn't work so well in the Glowforge, or this material over here does work well. And as for the vertical limit, I would stick with things that are probably about 1/8 of an inch tall, anywhere between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. I think that's probably where you want to stick with in terms of the thickness of the material.
Jake, I have a question in the chat. The question is there any way to have the design bed not be black when there's no material in the bed of the Glowforge? Designing red engraving or cut lines on a black background is rather difficult.
That is true. As far as I'm aware, I don't believe so. But that is a very good point, especially if the material, like you said, like the material that you're printing on is black. One way to get around that is to literally just take pieces of masking tape and literally just mark the spots that you want to, let's say you have a piece of black acrylic, let's say, and you want to put, or for instance, if you have a piece of clear acrylic that's transparent, so all you can see is the black background, sometimes putting little pieces of masking tape on the portion of the material that you want to put it on is a great way to kind of give you a guide as to where you're putting it on your material.
That's a great answer, Jake. Thank you.
And kind of a last little thing that I wanted to add on there. So I mentioned that with the proof grade material, it already has that layer of masking tape-like material on the surface of it. So that way, when you peel it off, you don't have scorch marks from the engraving and cutting process. Something we actually discovered recently that's really useful is just using like rubbing alcohol, like getting a microfiber cloth and putting rubbing alcohol on it is a great way if you don't have proof grade material, and if you simply have third-party material. What you can do is you can use that rubbing alcohol to kind of get those scorch marks off of it to clean it up after a print.
Jake, Kimberly said that they've had a Glowforge for about a year and they've really appreciated the updates to the design interface.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All right, Jake, did you have anything else?
The only other message that I have is may the force be with you. And thanks to everybody for joining us today.
Before you sign off, just a heads up that next month in February, our third Wednesday of February, we'll be doing a panel discussion focused on school and industry partnerships. So we're going to have a guest from Anderson Hauser in Indiana and a teacher who's been working in partnership with them to develop maker spaces or studio spaces. So we'd be happy to see you. We'll send out the invite in our next newsletter. And thank you again for joining us. We are really happy that you were here with us. And thank you, Dr. Jake.